My family used to take a ferry called the Sir Robert Bond between Labrador and Newfoundland, and it wasn't a great ferry. But he was one of our finest prime ministers. He won the biggest electoral majority of any leader. He negotiated 2 trade agreements with the US. He led us from bankruptcy to a gilded age of prosperity. Not bad for someone who was a recluse. He was educated in England. He saw the world, and he saw that Newfoundland could be much more than it had been or its people had fated it to be. He was a nationalist, he was a fighter, but because his papers were kept by family in New York, we didn't know as much about him as we should. Ted Rowe has corrected that in fine form. He interweaves the biography of the man with the history of the province. He puts you there. You can smell 19th century St. John's, which, as it turns out, isn't a very good thing. But every paragraph is jammed with intrigue and duplicity and compromise and victory. It's like House of Cards with a Newfoundland accent.
It's an interesting portrait, then, of what political life was like in Newfoundland back when it was not part of Canada, and in particular when it had its own independent foreign policy.
With what he accomplished with negotiating a trade agreement with the US, was saving the country from bankruptcy, really almost single-handedly. He could do no wrong when he became elected Prime Minister of the country, and he was by far the most popular Prime Minister that we had.
The career and the vision that he had for Newfoundland and Newfoundland in Canada is important to understand.
There's an interesting drama there about within the biography about Robert Bond, who was a kind of high-minded and principled politician, but who also then had to deal with a lot of kind of, low-level and, perhaps rather dubious transactions, make the kinds of compromises that are necessary in order to be successful in politics. And those are the exact same challenges that politicians today face.